So we're almost ready for final inspection. I've called for it tomorrow, and the outside isn't quite finished in terms of landscaping. We're trying to redo the patio, but I really want to get the final inspection done before we move on with that. So I'm crossing my fingers that they won't have an issue with that. But the ADU itself is pretty much done. There's a few final finishes, some scribe molding to put in around some of the gaps you can see, maybe a little bit of cork here and there, but it's pretty much there. Certainly very functional. TV works great. That's wired Ethernet. We've got an Ethernet wire that runs under the house to the main house, so we can share the internet connection, and that's about 1 gigabit up and down, which is great with Sonic. Kitchen is all working great. Got the air gap installed. This is a Moen tap. It's pretty nice. Garbage disposal. Got our under cabinet lights, and I've actually changed all the light switches out. It's kind of a shame because I don't think I'm going to get my money back on the Lutron switches that I bought, but I've switched them all to these Casa TP-Link smart switches. Actually, that one's for this one. These ones are smart dimmers, so you can actually control them through your app or through Google Assistant, which is pretty handy. Well, I've got to figure out a good naming convention to sort of differentiate it from the main house. This is the induction stove from Frigidaire. Actually looks to be pretty good. There's all these different modes. And it's got air fry. It's got a light. So I'm quite excited about using that. We've got the microwave vent hood, and so that is connected up here. We didn't do it quite on center. It's connected up to the roof there, and all seems to work pretty well. Turn the light on. There's a light underneath. It's actually pretty dim compared to the under cabinet lights, although these can be dimmed a bit. Quite bright. Yep, so that's all good. Got the spice rack here. We've got these Lazy Susan corner units, which in retrospect, I've read some pretty bad reviews about these, like these are one of the mistakes a lot of people make with their kitchens. These have to be this orientation in order to close the cabinet. But given the size of this kitchen, I didn't have too many options, and maybe the kitchen isn't going to see that much use, so that would be fine. Maytag dishwasher. A little bit disappointed with the quality on this. It doesn't feel very sturdy. The door doesn't hold itself up. I'm not sure if it's designed like that, but our other Maytag definitely feels a lot more solid. And the problem appliance is this one. So this is a Maytag as well. Got it for what I thought was a steal at the time, $6.99 from Lowe's. It's got a ice dispenser, water dispenser, which was a must. But the trouble with it is it makes this continuous hum like the compressor is running all the time. I occasionally catch it when it's turned off, but the majority of time it's on. When you open the door, it stops. Now I've leveled this, I've checked it front to back, I've looked at the seal. Initially the seal down here wasn't sealing very well, but now it seems to be sealing pretty good. So I'm not sure it's an issue with the seal. And the other issue is that the fridge door, is still a little bit high. tried loading this up with a lot of weight. I've adjusted this hinge down here to the maximum it can go down, and it's still a bit high. So actually I'm pretty disappointed with this. It's going to be a pain. I have to call someone out from service. It'll cost $150 unless they determine it is a warranty issue, and hopefully they can fix it. If they can't, then I'm probably going to have to try and sell this and get a different one. Our GE in the main house is exceptional. You know, it's very quiet, and it's been going for about 7 years. So the bathroom is pretty much done. We went kind of overkill with the lights here. You can see we've got these sconces up here. We've got the spotlights. We've got our Panasonic silent fan. This vanity came from Wayfair. We were trying to match the one in the main house. It was about $1,000. Kind of expensive, but looks okay. The toilet is a Kohler. We went with marble tile on the floor and the walls to match the main house, so that was a bit of extra in terms of installation. It takes a while to cut these tiles, and you have to use a wet saw. The bathtub is a cast iron Kohler bellwether. Pretty nice tub, incredibly heavy. We have the Moen shower here. It's actually really difficult to find a shower system that has a shower head like that and a pull down shower that isn't one of these cheaper brands. So we just decided to go with this bathtub and the fixed shower spout. This was an issue with the other one, the one in the main house, but this handle is a little bit too far off the wall. It'd be nice if that went in a bit further. I think it could be because the valve was installed a little bit too far forward. I think there are ways to fix that. That's for another day. In here we've got the heat pump water heater. This is from Home Depot. It's the Rheem 50 gallon Pro Terra. And you know, it's a big piece of kit, takes up a lot of space, but because of Title 24, a few people told me that this was the only option. Actually, I think I could have gone with a tankless electric, but there weren't too many options, and of course it requires a lot of electricity, a lot of amperage, and didn't want to have to go to like a 400 amp for the main service. So this is what we've got. I guess I would have preferred a gas tankless, to be honest. Although in theory this is pretty efficient. I think it probably is quite efficient. I haven't seen the energy usage yet, but it's big. It's noisy. The way this is vented is that it just vents to the room. I could have put a vent to the roof, but didn't really want to have the extra penetration, plus it's a big one, and so just vent it to the room. And of course when it's sucking the heat out of the air, it makes it a little bit cold. It's like an air conditioning unit, which depending on the temperature may be a good thing, but it's quite noisy. So I've been playing around with the settings on it. The app really is quite bad. But I think I've just about figured it out in terms of the schedule. So I let it run late in the evening, before bedtime, when the energy is a little bit cheaper, and before you're trying to go to sleep, because you don't want the noise from this. And so that heats it up, and then it stays warm enough until the morning, so you can use a shower. And then in the morning it will turn on. That's when the energy is cheapest, and so it can run in the morning and then you can have hot water for the rest of the day. What you don't want is this going off in the middle of the night, because it's very loud. I can maybe turn it on here. Actually, it's currently on, but it's not running because I guess the water is already hot enough. But it is loud, and it shares this wall with the bedroom, which is insulated, but it's a 2x4 wall, and so you can hear that in here. You can even hear the fridge. Otherwise, this is incredibly quiet in here because we've got rock wool insulation in 2x6 walls on the outside, and then we've got a CMU block wall that runs along the property line with like a 1-inch air gap between that and the stud framing and sheathing. And so not only is that extra durable, but I think it's also pretty good for sound insulation. Not that there's much going on the other sides here. You know, I think it's our neighbour's garden on that side and the other side. So pretty nice and quiet back here in the bedroom. We've got this ceiling fan from Amazon. I think it was about $150. And it has this remote here. Initially we didn't put a switch in because I wasn't actually sure how that would work. But the good thing is when you turn it off and turn it back on, the light comes on. You don't have to go to the remote and turn the light on with the remote. So, you know, when it's on, you can turn on the fan. And that works really good. You can turn it off, turn it back on. You can change the color temperature. I will just leave it like that. So the flooring really looks great in this bedroom. In the rest of it, we've got the round board down. There are a few areas, unfortunately, where the installation could have been a bit better. Like, for example, down here, not quite sure what they did. Maybe they didn't put enough glue down in the corners where they didn't have as much space. And you can see it's kind of sunken. If that was in the middle of the floor, it'd be a big problem because it would really catch on your feet. So there's a few things like that and a few gaps, but it does look pretty good. This is our little closet. That's the clean out at the end of the sewer line. Got the Dyson Hoover in here. Put in the shelving from Home Depot. I think it's like $100 for this kit, and that took a lot of the thinking out of it. So nice little closet, not massive, but probably enough for most people. And you know, the windows here, these are Anderson 100 series. These do look quite nice, but I'll say when you peel away the film, they do look really great. You know, you kind of realize what it's like to have nice brand new clear windows with good quality glass. Generally they're pretty good. There's a few sort of marks on them from the factory. Maybe those will come out. You know, a little bit of glue that's you know, for example here, there's a bit of glue in the edge here. Not a big deal. But these were, I think these were about $500 each. 3x5s, 3 foot by 5 foot. And the patio works pretty good. The bifold's really nice. It's a nice feature. And you know, what else is there to show you here? We've got the Daikin mini split. Those work flawlessly. They're very quiet. So I'm very happy with that. You know, one thing I'm missing versus the Mr. Cool that I've got in the main house is the Wi-Fi control. But I know you can get controllers that control them via IR. so I may end up getting one of those. But for now I think it's fine. Just to show you a bit of the countertop, this is a quartzite. It's called Taj Mahal from Brazil. Got it from a place called Capri Stone in Concord. And really nice. It's kind of a safe choice. You know, it's not too crazy. It's not too bold. But it's much nicer than a lot of the quartz that we saw. So this was, I think I got a really good deal actually through the installer, $2,000 for each slab, and these were big slabs. So all of this was 2 slabs. I think there was quite a bit left over as well, even with the waterfall here. They did this extra thick edge, which meant that we had to put a bit of extra plywood in on top of the deck to give it a bit more space. Undermount sink, and the 4-inch backsplash. Decided to put this behind the stove because this is one of those ones that's kind of a slide in. Might need to level this a bit more. Probably want this to come a little bit higher than the quartzite. Right now it's a little bit lower. It might have to come a little bit further forward, but that's fine. This thing's really heavy. Yeah, so that's a quartzite. So it looks pretty good. They did a rounded edge, so these are mitered. So there's a miter joint there, and what that does is it hides the difference in the veining or the texture of the stone. It takes a bit longer for them to do. As you can see here, it all looks really, really good. Maybe a few imperfections here and there. If you look down here, this is an area where you don't really look at, but you can see some of the filler they've used. It's not quite as good. But I don't really care about that because you don't really see it. This edge looks really good. This is kind of the edge that you see. It's most prominent. So that's the kitchen. Show you the Wi-Fi. So what we did was we bought an Ethernet cable, and there we go, there's the heat pump going. Pretty noisy. So we bought an Ethernet cable underground from the crawl space of the main house up to here, comes out through here, and it goes to this Nest Wi-Fi Pro, and an Ethernet cable goes from there back out to the TV. So that's actually really good because you get really good Wi-Fi all throughout the ADU. And the TV is wired, so that's really fast. Full-size washing machine and dryer. Maytag, because we love all the ones that we have in the house. One of these is a steam clean one. This one, I think. Yeah, the washing machine. And the dryer, I think. For steam cleaning. Possibly, yeah. Because it has a water line. These were quite heavy. And this is a pocket door. And we've got these in before the trim went in for the pocket door. And I'm not sure they'll be able to fit back out without removing the trim for the pocket door. So fingers crossed they don't break anytime soon. That's going to be fun for someone in the future. This is a pocket door. So this is one of those Johnson rails that we installed and this is a Simpson clear vertical grain Douglas fir veneer door that I got from Truett & White. Unfortunately, kind of messed up the cutout for this little pull out the door. But never mind, I can probably make that look a little bit better. And there it is. It's a little pocket door lock. See that from the inside. What it does, it's a quick set one. This little hook comes out. So if I close that, it's got soft close. Close that, and it's locked. So there we have the pocket door. One thing I didn't fully plan out, could have done a better job on, was the spacing here. And so we ended up going with a 3 foot 36-inch vanity, not a 4 foot, and decided to give it a bit of space, breathing space off the wall. But the toilet also, I think, is a little bit too close to the bath. Should have been a little bit further that way. And so there's a big gap here, then on the other side, and you get kind of close to that shower curtain, which is not ideal. Pretty difficult to deal with. I know you can kind of chip out the concrete and put in one of those closet flanges that has an angle in it to get an extra inch or two that way, but it's a bit late for that now. So that's that. I mean, the good news is you can put a scale down there with some other stuff. I think there's going to be a towel rail up here. So you can hear the heat pump water heater going, pretty loud, like I said. Go into the bedroom, see how it sounds from there. It's not terrible, but if you were sleeping, if you're sensitive to sound, you probably wouldn't like that. Okay, so the electrical panel here, this is an Eaton. This is in a 2x4 wall, and I was actually pretty worried that it was going to be a real struggle for the electricians to get it in. And I thought about upgrading this wall to a 2x6, but in the end it actually wasn't that much of an issue. They brought the underground power up through here. Thankfully the position was pretty good, and the UFA ground coming up into the panel here. Got a lot of different breakers. It's actually a 200 amp panel, but it's got a 100 amp fuse in it, disconnect. So you have all the different circuits here. I think this is to code. It's got these AFCI breakers, which were really expensive. I think they were $60 or $70 each. All labeled, which I know is one of the requirements for the final inspection. So I'm not sure whether they'll even look at that. But, the other thing to talk about is this louvered door. This is a Home Depot special, I think it's about $120. Bifold on this track. Didn't quite know what to do here with the washing machine, so basically framed in this little section here, and I've decided to leave the top of this one open because it's useful to put a laundry basket or something up there. And so there's a gap there. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit weird. It's not like fully enclosed, but I guess I'm fine with it, especially when that's painted and there's a laundry basket up there. Plus it allows the heat pump to vent pretty easily. So that is that. So this is video from several months after we passed final inspection, but we actually didn't pass final inspection straight after the last video. For a couple of reasons, nothing major.
Firstly, the inspector wanted to see that the steps from the ADU landed onto a solid floor. And because we hadn't poured the patio at that point, it was just landing onto dirt. So he wanted to see a patio or some sort of concrete floor. So we just poured the patio and sent him photos of that. The other thing was the lettering for the ADU. He wanted to see permanent signs as opposed to temporary ones that I printed. And the last thing was just fitting a backflow preventer on the outside faucet. So in the remaining episodes, we'll go through some things that happened after the final inspection, including the driveway, the electrical service upgrade, and the sewer lateral inspection.